To please Allah, a chance to gain reward I will spend on you, he says, on all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn his reward. Don't forget the oppressed. And when you go to sleep at night.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam wa rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. From your host,
Ismail Bullock.
And from Gabriel Al-Romaani. And welcome to another episode of A Time to Please Allah. This is your live show, Huda TV, from Dubai. A different show, a talk show. It's new, and it brings in a lot of the issues that a lot of people don't talk about. And I think this is probably the trademark of this show.
And mashallah, I think for what we've seen, mashallah, it seems to be becoming, as a show, inshallah, content-wise, very popular. Because, you know, without any real, you could say, pushing as such, mashallah, the Facebook page, which we've, again, please like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Time to Please Allah. Obviously, the episodes have been uploaded to YouTube, and mashallah, we're seeing a very high viewership, or even on the YouTube videos. Which again, I mean, they're not. It's not like they're being posted across the internet. They're just so, you know, inshallah.
And I think people are interested because we're talking, as I said, about all these issues that a lot of people don't talk about. So we spoke about role models, negative, positives, and so many different things. And now we're speaking today about new Muslims and their struggles, right? And usually people, subhanAllah, even in our communities and back home in the West, sometimes you find that the new Muslims, are facing a lot of issues, a lot of difficulties, and not a lot of people address these issues. Alhamdulillah, slowly things are becoming more organized. However, still, a lot of people not addressing these issues. So this is what we're talking about today. And you're a new Muslim. Well, not really new, but you've became a Muslim. You converted or reverted, we say. You reverted to Islam, and I reverted to Islam. For you, it's been how many years, Ismail?
Oh, subhanAllah, good question. It has been, mashallah, to be precise, almost 23 years.
23 years?
Yeah, subhanAllah.
And you are how old?
Now?
If it's okay to ask.
No, it's fine, alhamdulillah.
Wait, let me rephrase that. When did you become Muslim? What was the age?
No, I'm actually 36 now. But I became Muslim
when you were 16.
When I was 14.
14. So you lived your most of your life as a Muslim now.
Yes.
As opposed to, for me, I'm 30 right now, and I became Muslim 10 years ago. So I still lived only about. So still, I'm waiting for that point.
You lived a life of sin.
I'm still waiting for that point where it's passing over. Where basically I lived more as a Muslim than as a non-Muslim. So for now, 20 years as a non-Muslim and 10 years as a Muslim. So let's start today by what does it mean when we say a convert, revert? What are the connotations to these things? What's the right word to use? I mean, you keep hearing a lot of people talking about different.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's more appropriate to use revert simply because as we know, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said, "Kullu mawludin yulad ala al-fitra." Every child is born with this natural inclination to believe in one God, but it's the parents who make him a Christian or a Jew or a fire worshipper, whatever it may be. So that's why we like to say revert, because we say he's not converting, he's not changing into something different. He's actually going back to what he was when he was born or when he was a child.
Right.
Until then, he became old enough, and then, he disbelieved or didn't follow that natural fitra or that natural inclination. So that's why we prefer to use the word revert, because we're returning back to what we were in the first place. We're not converting into something totally new to us.
Okay, and you mentioned about the fitra, subhanAllah, and I think the closest thing we can define it as being is that natural disposition of human beings that nature. And subhanAllah, I was thinking about this. I was reading a book the other day on the airplane. And you know, the fitrah, every human being can rationalize and understand that there's a creator. And this is basically like foundations of Islam. Right? Islam calls to this. And as we know, the Sharia was to different prophets, was sometimes, you know, depending on, you know, which prophet it was, there were some differences and so on. But when it came to the belief, the aqidah was always the same. You know, the belief in a one creator, one God that's different than his creation. Laysa kamithlihi shay, there's nothing like him. And this is something that anyone can rationalize, anyone can feel, can understand. While any other theology that you look from different religions, it's not. You have to be spoon-fed. You have to be taught, you know, that, you know, well, you know, there's a triune God. God is the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, three different persons.
And it fights against fights against your rationale, your logic, your sense.
But you can't.
And you have to convince yourself.
But you don't just wake up one day and you look in nature and you say, well, you know, I think there's a Father, Son, and a Holy Ghost. You know, it's not. It needs to be spoon-fed. And people say, well, God reveals Himself. Well, we're talking about basics, you know, because not everyone will hear the message. Not everyone has studied Christianity or has studied, you know, fundamentals of Aqidah or anything like that. But human beings, wherever they are, they can fundamentally understand that there is a creator, and that should push them now to find more, to learn more, to discover more. And I think this is where our journey begins as reverts, right? That desire of humanity, of human beings to look for the truth. And, you know, really, not, you know, I'm a revert and you're a revert, but really reverts have to be applauded for this endeavor, in undertaking this journey for truth and looking for the right path. Because a lot of people are not doing it.
I mean, going back to that, something popped to mind, going back to that whole natural disposition part of it, what you could, I mean, you can easily find this on the internet as well, and in the, you know, the Western newspapers, talk about that whole, that we are naturally programmed or disposition, is that the scientists actually, while doing probing in humans' brains, etc., they found that there was a God spot.
Yes.
That whenever they would probe this, the person would go through very religious, spiritual feelings and thoughts.
Yeah.
So they basically concluded, which goes against the ones, you know, you have those people, especially some of the very staunch atheists, said, no, this is just for people with psychological issues. They're very weak. They need religion because they have some paranoia or some nerve issues. So they have to, this makes them feel comfortable, gives them a meaning in life. But for us, I'm a very confident person. I don't need this. But this, like you said, they did this with many people, and they found that everyone had this God spot. So we are naturally programmed to have this belief in God,
even
in
the
a
way
creator.
Our brain is wired, basically.
Exactly.
And you can check, people can check on Google, just go on.
So this obviously goes completely in line, because one may say, obviously, some of our non-Muslim viewers, you know, if they're trying to say, but this is just a statement, who says we're naturally programmed?
Or
you know, well, not even, you know, for us, obviously, the Prophet Muhammad is enough, and we know, maybe we'll have, inshallah, an episode or two about these kind of scientific information, because it's always very interesting to discuss. But we have so many statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that are always confirmed, whether sooner or later, by science anyway. So, you know, it's interesting to know that we're literally, we have this fitrah programmed into us.
Yeah, and going back, as I said, that this is what starts the journey for many new Muslims. And I believe, you know, for myself, for example, I was always quite religious, even as a Christian, and going to church and, you know, being very much into the religion itself, studying by myself, studying the Bible, and, you know, really being very keen on worshiping God. And that's all I knew. However, you know, this desire led me to find more, you know, to learn more about what is the true path, who is this creator, and, you know, specifically all these questions that come even naturally, you know. I mean, these things don't need to be sometimes given. There's people that I've met that they've never met a Muslim their whole life. But these questions, such as, you know, of the Trinity, or of, you know, the existence of God, or, you know, the finality of the prophethood, or, you know, the revelation, these questions come naturally to them. So it's not that someone comes to them and tells them necessarily, but there's been many people who said that, even I've came across one person who said that he became Muslim by himself. He said, I never met a Muslim my whole life till I don't know what time,
Wow.
He said it was just, he couldn't, he said, I just don't feel that Jesus is God or the Son of God. So he said, he started doing research in the libraries, and somehow he came upon some Islamic material as to what is the view, the Islamic view on Jesus and so on. He said, it was like a glove, as they call it, a glove fit. It's like just a perfect fit. And he said, that's when I became Muslim.
SubhanAllah. I mean, even relating back to my own story to Islam, inshallah, relating to this natural disposition is that one of the first things that got me interested in Islam is seeing some Muslim students who used to pray sometimes in the classroom. And I remember seeing some other students outside, and I said, what are you guys doing now? We're waiting for such and such. I said, well, why are they in the classroom? It's lunch break. They said they're praying. Very strange for a teenager to hear about other teenagers praying. So I went over there and I saw them bowing down in the classroom, and something just clicked. Allah knows best. Maybe it was this natural disposition where I said to myself, I saw them bowing down. There's no images. There's no symbols. They're just bowing down. And I was really moved and kind of struck by this devotion, bowing down on the floor, prostrating. As we know, this was the way of all the prophets.
Yes.
So that just clicked for me, and that kind of is tied into this whole, what we're talking about, this whole
And I said, we share the same thing, because that's what happened to me as well, when I saw my friend make sujood and praying, and that was something that grabbed my attention, and I made a connection that, Jesus, peace be upon him, Isa alayhi salam, used to pray the same way. It's described in the Bible that he fell on his face. So that kind of pushed me to want to learn more. And, a good point that comes to my mind right now is how I got past the misconceptions that are put there against Islam. Now, because, subhanAllah, when you look at the way things are in the world, we look at the media, we look at everything that's put against Islam out there for humanity to see. And then you look on the other side, how many converts or people revert to Islam still, even though, despite the strength of the opposition and trying to misguide people away from Islam or trying to shut them away. They just, subhanAllah, the amount of information and the amount of organizations that are working against Islam or are really trying to portray Islam in a negative image. And the amount of people that still come to Islam despite that, that's something amazing, isn't it?
It is. And what's you could say even more amazing is all this negativity that's out there, and the media, the false propaganda, is usually related to women, as we mentioned in our first episode, the niqab. But who are the people all over the world, in majority, who are becoming Muslim?
By statistics, women.
Women.
By statistics.
I'll talk from home. In the UK, this is published. There was an organisation called Faith Matters.
Faith Matters, yeah.
They do research on faith in general. They're not of any particular denomination of any religion. And you can find this in the Telegraph, the Independent, all the reputable newspapers. And they said in the last 10 years, around 5,000 people every year are becoming Muslim. And when they looked at the average of this 5,000, what was it? Was it an old man, young men, criminals, people become Muslim in prison? They found out that the average people, which is the opposite of what everybody would think, was the average person out of these 5,000 a year were women, aged 25 to 30, educated, good careers, and white, which is completely what the people would think the opposite. So these are the people who you would imagine would stay far away from Islam. She's a successful businesswoman. She's a university graduate. She's middle upper class, but they're the ones who become Muslim despite all the negative propaganda, which many a time is directed as Islam oppresses women. Look at this horrible niqab. Look at this bag she's wearing on her head. So subhanAllah.
So I think people need to think about this, because it's not just by chance. And as you said, I was talking to a friend of mine over past weekend, and he's from Bridges Foundation. It's a quite reputable organization, and they were saying, he was citing some of the same statistics that you have, and people can research it as well, that mostly women and middle class, white, are coming to Islam. Not just white, obviously, but the interesting thing is that even with all the negative propaganda, that negative propaganda would make people look into Islam. And I've heard numerous times after 9/11, people are looking into Islam after this. They wanted to know, what is this? And then they found out, well, this has nothing to do with Islam, what these people are doing. And here we found real Islam, right? We found real Islam. And many experiences, for example, Ivan Ridley, from, right? I mean, people would, man, you would think that, captured by these guys and whatnot, and you would think, come on, this is the person who hates Islam the most, right? And there she is, she becomes Muslim, to the awe and amazement of everyone, right? So people, I think, need to rationally just at least look at it and say, well, wait a second. The negativity, and here people are still coming afwaja, in groups, and they're coming in over and over again. And it's the religion that people convert to or revert to the most in the world. So, as I said, it might look like a stumbling block, but people get over this very easily, and they find the truth of Islam. Now, other than what you said about praying and seeing those guys pray, what was something else that attracted you towards Islam, or that attracts, from your experience that you talk to new Muslims and that attracted people? Because I seem to find a pattern. I don't know if you notice.
I mean, me personally, and I've seen this with other people as well. Apart from that initial interest because of the prayer,
right?
Apart from the initial part of the prayer, it was I other information that I started to read, and it's probably better actually if we're going to go to the break actually now.
And we have a guest coming up.
And we have a guest coming up, and what I'll say will take a bit longer.
He's a new Muslim.
And he's a new Muslim.
So we're going to
go for the break. Tune in, inshallah, after the break here on A Time to Please Allah.
To please Allah, a chance to gain reward, I will spend on you, he says.
فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. There are 3 levels. Sister Rayhan from Bahrain.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fahim from Sweden. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Barakallah feek, Fahim. May Allah bless you and your family.
Sheikh, I have one question.
Now, that is not allowed. Why isn't allowed? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man ghasha falaysa minna." He who deceives or betrays does not belong to us. He's not one of us. A person who is given the sadaqah or leading the prayer does not have necessarily to be praying fard. Maybe he's praying the nafl that is after the prayer, the 2 sunnah after dhuhr or after maghrib or after isha. And the follower, the imam, will be praying with the intention of offering the fard that he has missed. Okay, barakallahu feek.
Welcome to Tech Talk. I'm your host, Omar Shear. This season of Tech Talk, we will focus specifically on the internet.
A student would type their paper, and instead of handing me a hard copy of their paper, they would upload it to this learning system, this e-learning system.
I have some great experience when it comes to technology, and in particular, internet technology. Call to action is something that we do in our day-to-day lives, and maybe we don't realize it. Now we want to discuss, after you have a product and you have a website and you have a way to communicate with your customers, which would be your email marketing system, now it's time to take the money from the customer.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward, I will spend on you, he says, all who spend
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back from the break. Now, before we introduce the guest, I'll just finish answering Jibril.
Yes.
For me, after the initial experience with the prayer, that was kind of enough to really want to become Muslim. I just felt something. But what I did start to do after that, to kind of make it firmer in my heart, if you like to say, is I started double checking, okay, Muslims are saying that the Bible is incorrect, and okay, based on what I believe, but let me check, so I would go into a lot of these Ahmed Deedat books that showed how the Bible had changed over time to, I did that kind of, and that just made it, and many people tend to do that, there's a lot of people, they just know it makes sense. If I close my eyes, the description of God Almighty, hey, that's Islam. There's humanistic, animalistic kind of stuff.
Yes.
And without any further ado, brother Iyari from United States of America. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thanks for coming up. Now, whereabouts in the States are you from again?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. I don't know why when I hear of North Carolina, I want to do like a Mississippi accent. North Carolina.
Yes, that's about right. Yeah, that's about right.
So I'm not misconceived then.
No.
Okay, good. So,
Tell us a bit about yourself
Yeah.
first. I mean, what do you do?
What do I do? I'm a teacher. Teach mathematics. Have a passion for teaching. I love teaching.
Do you love teaching mathematics though?
Yeah, I love teaching mathematics. Yeah.
question is, do the students love studying mathematics?
No, nobody loves studying mathematics. Unfortunately, it's one of those things.
Mathematics when you're...
So I mean, I don't even like to hear the word mathematics. Let alone study it.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You really have to work hard to grab people's attention when you're doing. So.
And you're a new Muslim?
Relatively new, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many years?
11 years now.
MashaAllah.
11 years, yeah.
And MashaAllah, you were seeking knowledge, alhamdulillah, at the same time, and while you're working, alhamdulillah. And you've learned Arabic and...
Yeah, somewhat.
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, that's I believe you're studying on the Medina International University.
Yes,
online.
Yes. Online university, yes, sir.
So that's what I mean. That's very good for the viewers. I mean, you have, without advertising for anybody, but you have Islamic Online University. You have, which is completely free. You have Medina, which is also, from what we heard, very, very cheap if you look in comparison.
You have Mishka with Dr. Muhammad Salah.
So you have so many opportunities that many people don't take advantage of, and some of them have the opportunity. Some guy will say, I don't have time to do a degree. Okay, some of them do diplomas, or course by course. So there's no excuse. I mean, you're a teacher, which is a full-time job.
A very full-time job.
A very full-time job.
And you have kids. You're married.
Stressful. I imagine you go home feeling very worn out at sometimes with homework and exams to mark, and you're still finding the time. So it proves that we can do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, let's hear a bit about how you. Obviously we have to summarize it, of course, because I've heard, mashallah, your story before, and it's quite a long one. So you give us a bit of a summary, mashallah, of how you became a Muslim, basically.
Yeah. So basically, as most Americans, we have some kind of association with Islam, whether it's from the Nation of Islam or through, these different little groups that claim to be Muslim, and a lot of them you see with the rap musicians, a lot of them, we call it pseudo-Islam. Yeah. So we have a background of Islam, but the picture is not correct.
Okay.
So, and then also being an African American, people just assume that you would have more affinity towards Islam.
Why is that?
Yeah, generally because of the Nation of Islam, because it's.
Does it have to do anything with the roots of the Africans from they're in America right now, where they're coming from? And
unfortunately, no. It was a reaction to the particular political climate and the social climate in America at that time.
White Christianity.
Yeah, the whole slavery background. Right. So this is one of the reasons why people went to that, because they felt that this was, the complete opposite of what the masters, what they were promoting, from the Judeo-Christian background. So they felt that Islam was completely different, in complete opposition to, what the ruling class, what they had. So they moved there. So unfortunately, if they had actually went back to the roots of, the former slaves who came from West Africa, who were definitely Muslims, who had a strong Muslim tradition, this would have been far better for them in the end. But unfortunately, that's not the That's not the path that they decided to take. But so in general, we have that understanding in America that Islam is there, and we have the general picture what it's about, that Muslims pray and that there's fasting and those kind of things. In the past, though, of course, like I mentioned, there's a lot of misconceptions. Right. So when I went to university, this is a time for most people to do exploring, as they say. And I was interested in religious aspects of life. So I like to read a lot. Unfortunately, at the time, I was a bit arrogant. I really felt that I knew my Christianity. I used to read the Bible a lot and read different books. And so I would like to challenge the other Christian groups on campus. We used to have, American University is a very strange dynamic, very strange dynamic.
Indeed.
We used to have this guy called Gary the Preacher, and he would come on campus with placards, and he's yelling and screaming at people, and so we had a lot of religious discourse on campus. So I used to love, my thing was to go and embarrass those people, using the Bible, using whatever they say against them. And so, I thought that I knew my stuff. I thought I knew my stuff. But because it's a university climate in America, you have people coming from all over. People coming from India, people coming from, all over the world with all different religions, different backgrounds. And I was not versed in those things. Okay. So I started to read about different religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, different facets of Christianity that are not local to America. So through this reading, eventually I came across Islam, and it was something I didn't really know so much about. Fortunately, though, in high school, we had a teacher, Mr. McDowell, I remember him. He did a pretty good job in presenting what Islam is. Okay. It was actually
world religions.
World religions, yeah. Well, it was world cultures.
World culture, okay.
But in that, we had to study the different religions. And I actually remember going back after I became Muslim, looking at my notes. Mr. McDowell did a good job.
So he kind of gave you a fair view, not the biased.
Very fair.
Propaganda.
Which is good, because there are those people out there.
Yeah.
Very fair. So he laid, the five, the pillars of Islam, the pillars of Iman, those kind of things. Laid it out very well. But it wasn't enough, for my arrogant self to go and challenge Muslims. So started to do more reading, just general surface stuff. And, it was interesting. But the reason I was doing it, of course, was just to refute people. And it was the last of the major religions I actually looked at.
So wait, let me cut you down.
Yeah.
So you were doing this to refute people.
To refute
your
people.
intention was totally different.
Completely different, initially. So then, personally, as I got older, and
what age are you talking about right now? Like,
I was. This started to occur 19 when I was 19.
So young, okay.
Yeah,
Very
so
young.
I was young. What happened was that, my religious background was Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but, they're pretty well-read people.
They've knocked at my door a few times.
Yeah, and that's what they're known for, knocking on the doors. But I became increasingly dissatisfied with the religious dogma that they had, and the lack of answers I was getting. And, one of the issues was about this beard. I remember asking them, is it okay for me to wear a beard? And they told me, no, you shouldn't, this, that, and the other. And I asked them, well, all the pictures that you guys showed me of all the prophets and the people around them, everybody has beards. And so they gave me some terrible reason why you shouldn't do it. But I said, well, that's not really, I'm a university now, so, we're being trained to think logically. And I'm like, that's not a good answer. And the more I started to ask, of course, because now I'm looking at other religions, my outlook is now changed. So the more I'm asking, the less it appears to me that they're able to answer, and the less willing they are to answer. And so I said, well, this can't be the truth. The truth will give me answers. So now I started saying, let me look for the truth. Let me actually, for myself, stop refuting people, and let me find the truth. Because I started to doubt that what I was upon was true. And most of those religions I read about, I couldn't become a Hindu. I couldn't do it. It didn't make sense. Buddhism, any Buddhist I talked to on campus, would tell me it's not a religion. I said, then why join it? Different facets of Christianity just did not make sense. So the last thing was this Islam. And, you know, of course, Islam had in the West, they put a very negative picture on it. And so I was affected by it. Sure. As a child, I remember, you know, seeing in the 80s, you know, the problems in the world and seeing people protesting and angry. And this is the idea that, unfortunately, I carried about Muslims. But when I actually started to read for myself, what is this Islam, I found out that it's okay. It's okay. So I decided to pick up the Quran. I went to our library. We have a very excellent library at our university. For sure. And the Muslim Khan version of the Mus'haf was there, of the Quran. It was there. So I started to read it, and I became very fearful. I was very afraid because everything, as Christians at that time that we believed, was there in the Bible or there in the Quran, but better. You know, the issue of Tawheed came up, and I was just blown away.
And you came to this realization by yourself? No one came and told you?
No, not at this point. No, nobody was really
giving.
There was one guy on campus that used to always, you know, give me dawah, but to be honest, I didn't understand what he was saying.
Really?
He had a very heavy accent and spoke very fast, and so may Allah bless him for his efforts. But yeah, I didn't understand anything he was saying in those days. But reading the Quran, I was amazed that there was a concept of Tawheed, and I consider myself as a monotheist, but the monotheism I found with the Muslims was far better than anything any Christian group at that time could offer. And the fact that all the stories I knew about Moses and Abraham and those things were there also, I became fearful because now I was shocked. I'm the one being refuted. You know, that now I realize I'm the arrogant one. I'm the one that didn't know. So I just closed it. I went directly to the library and gave it back. And because I was afraid, I'm like, you know, this means that everything that I've believed all this time has to be revamped. SubhanAllah. So some time went. I kept reading different little things about Islam. And it came to a point where I said, well, I need to get serious about this. I can't, you know, run for myself. Inside, I knew the truth was with Islam, but I needed to satisfy my soul. So I needed to read more. It was this point then I sought out Muslims, because in the university, especially in the engineering department, you have lots of people from Egypt. You know, from Egypt. Yes. And it was actually these guys that gave me a lot of help, a lot of the Egyptians. So they would give me different reading materials, and one of the books was called The Christian-Muslim Dialogue.
Right. Very famous.
And this blew me away. It blew me away. You know, I would actually find myself in the middle of a very serious lecture. I have my book that I'm supposed to be reading with the teacher, but the other book is inside. You know, I was so, and it's not that big of a book.
Right.
It's not that big, but the material was so heavy that I would read it over and over and over, and it got to a point that I was amazed. I said, "This is it. This religion is it." But I still hadn't made that decision to become Muslim. I started to notice some of my other friends becoming Muslim, and one in particular, he was a very close friend to me. This guy became Muslim and disappeared. Well, we didn't know he became Muslim. I just noticed I didn't see him around campus anymore. Maybe a semester later, I saw him. He's wearing, you know, the kufi, and you know, he's growing a beard. And I'm like, you know, what's going on? And he's like, I became Muslim. And I'm thinking like maybe it's the 5% or this hip hop stuff. He says, no, real Islam. Wow. And so he introduced me to some better reading materials, and he introduced me to some actual Muslims on campus. Find out these guys are in my class, Egyptian guys, and you know, they would start answering questions for me. Cool. So finally, just one day, I just said, what's the point asking all these questions? I know it's the truth. Let me just go ahead and do this. So I called him up. It was like maybe 11 at night, and I said, I need to talk to you right now. Talk to my friend. He's like, it's 11 o'clock, man. You know, it's you know, I'm Muslim, I got to get up and pray. He's like, I said, no, this is important. You have to meet me right now. So I can hear him yawning, like tired. I go directly there, and I told him, I want to become Muslim right now. And he's looking at me shocked, like, right now? I said, yeah, right now. So he called up some guys, and mashallah, took shahada there with them, and ever since, alhamdulillah, I've been Muslim.
Nice. I told you there's a pattern amongst most of the stories. Yeah. Sometimes there's some variances, but I mean, I can relate so much to your story by my stories. It's the same thing, calling my friend, I'm like, okay, come, I need to meet you. Same things, I'm smiling, while you tell me the story.
Now, before we probably have a couple of minutes until the end of this segment, but before we do end this segment, in a couple of minutes, what kind of challenges did you face after becoming Muslim?
The number one challenge was just being a new Muslim. The fact that people would either expect you to hit the ground running at the same pace they were, or they had this hands-off approach to you. People saying, oh, don't tell him this is haram, don't tell him about this, don't tell him about it, because they're afraid that you'll leave Islam. Right. And that to me was one of the most frustrating things, that, maybe something seriously prohibited in the religion.
Okay, we have to hold you because we've actually got a phone call.
I think someone
from,
wants to ask you something.
I believe from Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, sister.
Yes, I want to say my English is not good enough, but I am from Mecca.
Okay.
And we are very proud to see you and hear your stories. We are proud that you are Muslims, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
And may Allah bless you.
Ameen.
Thank you.
Very Jazakallah khairan for your words, sister. That's very nice. Thank you for calling the show as well.
Inshallah.
Please continue watching the show, inshallah. That was a very nice phone call. It's nice to hear these things because,
from Mecca, mashallah.
From Mecca as well, mashallah. It's very nice to see these things.
So back to the challenges you were talking about, right?
Yeah, so just maybe perhaps as a new Muslim, you don't know everything. Of course, you barely know anything. So it may be that you're doing something that is haram and nobody tells you. That was the thing that upset me, that, somebody would clearly see me doing something and it's not allowed in Islam.
And they're scared to
and
tell
nobody
you.
Said anything.
This is something very interesting because a lot of people take the other approach. And I've noticed this, that a lot of people say, well, wait a second, everyone's telling me too much.
Well, and there's that also. There was that also. So those are the two things that were difficult for me, because some people.
For sure, because they're extremes, both of them.
There are some people who were telling me, drop out of university right now.
Everything.
Go make, go make hijrah, go study this, go memorize Quran, Hadith, leave it now. And I'm saying, well,
wait a second.
I got one more year left to this degree, man. I can't, I'm not going to leave it. And then you have the other people, like I said, who would see you, because I was a DJ at the time. I had a radio show and all this, and I was oblivious to the fact that there were some issues about music and things like this. I had no idea. So I'm in the studio doing a thing, and I remember mentioning to somebody that I want to start this kind of band.
There's another call.
Another call.
Go ahead, inshallah. Bismillah. Fatima, yes. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, sister, go ahead.
I'm looking at the program. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm looking at the program on Huda TV. I saw the revert on Huda TV.
Okay, maybe sister, maybe you should, if you could turn the television down because we're getting an echo. Okay, I think the sister was trying to say. Now we have another caller, mashallah, Mu'adh from Ghana. Assalamu alaikum, Mu'adh. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you, brother? How are you?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good
for
night,
us, it's good evening. Mashallah. How are you doing, brother? How did you find the show so far?
Yes.
Did you have a question?
We are doing fine.
Did you have a question or any input for this particular show?
not a question, but just a contribution regarding to the hardworking.
Okay. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, and we are really appreciating the hard working that you people are doing. May Almighty Allah help you and be the role model to all of us wherever we are.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Inshallah, we all try, and inshallah, we all must strive, like our previous episode, to take the Prophet Muhammad and his companions and the scholars as our role models. Jazakallah khair, brother. I think, Jibril, we have another call.
Yeah, we have another call, yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Suhaib. Assalamu alaikum, Suhaib. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. It's Suhaib.
Suhaib Al-Rumi.
Yeah, I'm from Medina.
MashaAllah.
Yes, I was listening to the story, and I have like a similar story like the brother, the American.
MashaAllah.
So I also was Jehovah's Witness before, and I became Muslim, and now I'm studying in the Medina University.
MashaAllah. Where are you from, brother?
Yes, I'm originally from Holland.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. So you're in Medina right now studying, MashaAllah.
Yes, alhamdulillah, yeah.
Alhamdulillah. How much time do you have left then in finishing your degree, inshallah?
I think maybe a couple of months. It's not a long time.
MashaAllah.
Okay, mashallah.
And you're a new Muslim. How long ago you become Muslim?
I now 6 years.
6 years, MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
May Allah bless you, brother, MashaAllah.
Shukran, jazakallah khair.
Maybe inshallah one day you can visit us in Dubai and be sitting in this chair with us, inshallah, as a guest. We'd like that, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah. Thank you, brother.
Take care, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. MashaAllah, we're getting a lot of phone calls.
That's right.
So you have to come back on the show. So yeah, we interrupted you again. Go ahead.
But it was also it's also mashallah the topic as well, you know, mashallah, because new Muslims.
As I said, yeah,
it's inspiring for us. It's inspiring for people. So mashallah, it's one of those shows with new Muslims that people they like to come and share their stories or just say mashallah.
And especially the following episodes will be continuing with this topic.
Yeah, we plan inshallah for the next 2 or 3 episodes to have a few different new Muslims on because it's nice to hear the different experiences.
MashaAllah. Yeah, alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. So go ahead, just to finish up your...
Yeah, so that's basically like, you know, that was the major difficulties were people on one hand not telling you anything, you know, treating you, it's like you're on a team, a football team or something, you waited all your life to get on the team, you want to play,
right,
and they're telling you, no, just sit down, take it easy. So, and then on the other side, you know, you have those people who want you to know everything, and they're like, oh, you haven't memorized, you know, this book? Oh, what is this, brother? You know, they expect you to know so much. Some of them unforgiving. You know,
was this difficult for you? I mean,
that, to be honest, it was very difficult. That was because of this reason was the first tribulation I faced in the religion.
We have to cut you off again, brother, because now we have another call. Sister Fawzia from Dubai. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Fawzia.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you, akhi?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Alhamdulillah.
I just want to say I love your program.
Okay, mashallah.
And to please Allah, wallahi, it is such. Even though I was a born Muslim, and my mother embraced Islam,
mashallah,
and may Allah give her Jannatul Firdaus.
Inshallah.
For her, you know, the struggle that she went through, Allahu Akbar. She raised 10 kids, and Allah just was with her. You know, you saw miracles of how Allah was pleased with her. Alhamdulillah. I just wanted to say, I have just moved to Dubai. I'm from South Africa. I just wanted to know, is there any place where I can find a madrasa to go to?
In
Dubai? Perhaps no.
In Dubai?
Yeah, in Dubai.
Okay, I'll give you a quick name because we have some other calls. If you just jot this down, there's a place called Kelima, which is you can find it on their website, KALEMAH.org. Kelima.org. They have lessons, they can put you in touch, inshallah, with other places. But we really have to, very nice for your call, but we've got a line of calls I think we have to get to.
And she can call the Awqaf also too.
Yes, obviously the Awqaf of Dubai, mashallah, have many.
There's a free number. We have Abdulaziz from Kuwait. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, you say really this is very fascinating, listening your story. And really, you, alhamdulillah, you are the luckiest guy. Allah has chosen you for this guidance. Because we are Muslim, because we inherit Islam. And alhamdulillah, but you are also very lucky that Allah has guided you. And He picked among, millions, billions. May Allah give you reward and keep us all steadfast on His path. And we all should go to, inshallah, Jannah. And I have very special affection with you guys. The reason being, my son-in-law, he was a Christian, and he also accepted Islam 6 years back. And he was, by profession, he's a doctor. So the story, he has also very fascinating story, in a sense that, it is really, it has many learning curves. One of his very good friend, he died. Then that clicked him up to learn more about what is death, what is life. And therefrom he started studying, different religion, and then he then he looked at the Islam. And alhamdulillah, very soon he accepted Islam. So now he is a part of my family.
Allah bless him.
So may Allah bless all of us and steadfast in His path and give us paradise, inshallah.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair for calling, brother.
Thank you.
Take care, inshallah. And we have, mashallah, another call. Brother Khalid from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam rahmatullah.
How are you, Brother Khalid?
Alhamdulillah. Jazakum Allah khairan for this program.
Wa iyaakum, inshallah. How's do you have a question, or do you have, mashallah, something to contribute?
No, I just have a quick story that my wife, she converted.
MashaAllah.
She converted 1 year and a half ago.
MashaAllah.
And I met her, alhamdulillah, 5 months ago. And when I saw her, I saw that she born as a Muslim, but I started to approach her and talk to her. And when I noticed that she converted, mashallah, I proposed her, and we got married, alhamdulillah, 5 months ago.
MashaAllah.
So I just want to add that really, when I saw that she didn't born as a Muslim, and how she dressed, how she is covered, how she is decent, mashallah, how in less than 1 year she knew many things about Islam. She know many hadiths, mashallah.
And where, brother, if you don't mind me asking, which country is she from?
She's Russian.
Okay, mashallah. So very, mashallah, very.
Yeah, and I
so
want to tell you that she left her country and she lived here in Dubai because here she can practice Islam, mashallah. And she told me that when I am here and my family is there, but I left them and I stay here, it's like hijrah, that I am here away of them, and most of time she miss them, but she is here because here she can, mashallah, she can practice Islam. And even her friends, her Christian friends, they wonder, they tell her, how you got married easily like this? I mean, how when he saw you, he didn't ask for a date or ask to see if you will sitting each other's or no. You just got married quickly. So I told her, this is Islam, as the Prophet said, if you saw her and you like her, you will propose her. And that's what I did.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, brother. Very nice story.
So we're taking a break now.
So Jazakumullah khair, and just I want to add that
sure.
Many things for the new converted Muslim, just to find the right husband. It will help her too much, really.
True. That's true. Allah bless you for guiding her and helping her, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, brother.
A lot of phone calls, mashallah, but we need to take a break.
A long overdue break, actually.
I think we're going to have more, I'm suspecting. So let's take a break, inshallah. We'll be right back on A Time to Please Allah here on Huda TV. Assalamu alaikum.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, He says.
Reading the Quran is a blessing. Understanding its translation is beautiful. But diving in depth and extracting pearls from it is simply amazing. Do they not ponder upon the Quran? Every week, inshallah, we will dig deep and reflect on the verses of the Quran one by one.
Quran in Depth with Sheikh Ibrahim Zaidan, only on Huda TV.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. You're not giving it to him because he has black eyes or blue eyes. You're giving it to him because of his position. And that is why you're giving it to this particular department's head rather than giving it to the HR GM, for example. Nobody gives the HR GM anything because they don't want anything from him until they want a job. Therefore, this is the way you can judge whether it's a bribe or not. To get into a halal transaction, first of all, the bank or the financial institution should acquire and own this apartment before any commitment.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. MashaAllah, we've had the phones have been, as they say, off the hook. It's like the hotline today, MashaAllah. If we get a chance to continue before another phone call comes in. Oh, here we go. We have a phone call, and we have a phone call with us,
I think we
inshallah.
need to bring it back because I need to hear a lot of...
Assalamu alaikum. I think Brother Musa. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Musa. How are you doing, brother?
Oh, fine.
And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Nigeria.
MashaAllah. We were just talking about Nigeria. MashaAllah.
I'm doing fine. I'm calling from Jeddah, Nigeria.
MashaAllah.
Yes. Now,
and
I want to rejoice with you for joining the Ummah of Islam.
MashaAllah.
And may Allah be with you.
Ameen. And you too, brother. Thank you for your call.
Yeah. Yes. I'm just too happy to listen to you. I wanted to go out, but when you were talking, I had to abandon what I was doing.
MashaAllah.
Subhanallah.
Yes.
Inshallah, may Allah reward you, inshallah, for that, brother.
Now, may Allah reward you abundantly with Al-Jannah al-Firdaus.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair.
Ameen.
Ameen.
Thank you, brother. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, another call. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, brother Suleiman. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Hello, walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, brother Suleiman.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I managed to get the line through.
Alhamdulillah. Where are you calling, Suleiman? From where?
I am calling you from Sudan.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Go ahead, brother.
From Sudan.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, I would like, in fact, I just came back from my Hajj.
MashaAllah. May Allah accept.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
And your program is very touching, and I would like to make dua for my friend, my brother, who said he has converted to Islam after reading and going through so many episodes. MashaAllah, I really pray for him, and I hope Allah will continue to give him the light, hidayah, until we return to Allah Ta'ala.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair, Suleiman.
And I also dua that inshallah Allah will invite him to Mecca to perform his Hajj in the short time to come.
Ameen, Ya Rabbi.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair, brother.
Jazakallah khair.
And may Allah bless you all who are doing this program. It's a very interesting program, in fact.
Thank you, brother. Inshallah, we'll keep it as interesting, inshallah. Please keep watching us every week, inshallah.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
barakatuh. And we have another phone call. Sister Fatima from Dubai. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Fatima.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, sister?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. First, I would just like to congratulate each and every one of you because of this show, and actually we really appreciate having this kind of program, especially for the new rebirths. And one question I have for the for the visitor is for the guest rather is what do you think what did you consider is the most difficult struggle you've ever had since you became a Muslim, and how were you able to deal with this?
That's a tough one. Islamic identity, I would probably say that's the most difficult thing that I really had to face. Just being comfortable with who you are inside, and also being, letting that person inside also not conflict with Islam.
Right.
That's probably the most difficult thing. That's the thing I've struggled with for the longest time. Like for instance, if you're an artistic person and you like to draw, which, in the past I was, but feeling that you had to let those kind of things go because you're a Muslim now.
And you said also the DJ thing.
Yeah,
right?
and the DJ thing, once
Okay.
it was clear that
Right.
that part was
Didn't have that
not
part,
permissible. To be a matter of fact, I left that immediately. I was in the middle of a show. And
Just
and
got
I
up and
just,
left?
once I heard something from, one of the musicians, and it was something completely just off the wall.
Mhm.
I quit. I told the next guy, listen, finished, I quit this. But, as far as the art, I used to be very artistic, drawing and things like this, and, people were kind of making me feel uncomfortable about, the art and things like this, and, liking to play sports, and people made you feel bad about trying to play sports. So it's not until recently that really I've gotten over that issue.
Okay.
So that is probably the identity issue. That's probably the most difficult thing I've had to face.
It's fine. I think most of people are doing the same, facing the same thing, identity.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sister. May Allah bless you. And I'll take this one from Fujairah. Omar from Fujairah. Assalamu alaikum, Omar. Assalamu alaikum, Omar from Fujairah.
How are you, brothers?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Brother, you did a very good job in the world. May Allah bless you up. May Allah bless you all. And especially the Huda TV is one of the best TV in this world. I always look at the Huda. May Allah bless all of the staff of the Huda. And may Allah bless all of you. May Allah accept all of you.
Ameen. Thank you, Omar.
Thank you, brother.
Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you too, inshallah.
Jazakallah khairan.
Yeah,
Assalamu alaikum.
I think I know Omar.
Okay. Well, that whole Fujairah thing kind of...
Yeah, Fujairah.
That's
Small
myself. Okay. We have another phone call. Also, mashallah, again from Africa. Idris from Cameroon. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, brother?
Yes, I just want to say that I'm watching the program in Cameroon, and I like the program, especially your gifts.
MashaAllah.
Nation story is really amazing.
Alhamdulillah. And it's great to have, mashallah, viewers from all over the world, mashallah. It's very nice to have a caller from Cameroon.
Yes, and I want to say that we used to watch Ikra TV
Yes.
from Cameroon here, but just of a sudden the channel disappeared. And we no longer have Ikra. So I don't know what happened. What has happened? Can you please clarify?
Subhanallah.
Actually, we don't know anything about that, but we can maybe look into or ask some people. But alhamdulillah, at least you have Huda. It's around, alhamdulillah. So. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for your call, brother. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you.
We've got like a
few minutes left.
Yeah. So you pretty much said to the sister. I mean, that was one of your main challenges, obviously, that came through Sister Fatima's.
And this is the challenge I was saying of most new Muslims, the issue of identity and, getting over what your nafs wants and putting in line with what Islam, tells you to be, which is something very important. Now, anything else that you would, maybe an advice, I think let's end it with an advice that you would have for new Muslims when it comes to the struggles, when it comes to seeking truth, when it comes to seeking knowledge, anything that might help them, to get over these hard times.
For the actual convert, the revert themselves, seeking knowledge is the most important of all the issues. To be able to look into these issues yourself rather than relying on other people to always tell you what is correct or what is not correct, because in reality you have to face it. Sometimes people know, sometimes they don't. Right. So maybe the advice that you're getting from somebody is completely wrong. So I would advise all new Muslims to really try their best to begin to seek knowledge. I'm not saying try to become Bukhari or Sheikh Uthaymeen or something like this, but just whatever it is about the religion, especially the pillars, to seek knowledge in those issues, look in authentic, reputable sources, and become firm in those issues. And to continue doing that year after year for the rest of your Muslim life, to continue to seek knowledge, to try to be a better Muslim, and companionship. Find good friends.
This is something very important.
Very important.
And
very important.
How did you go about finding righteous friends? We talked about role models and good friends last few episodes, but how'd you? Obviously, you had to give up some of your old friends.
I had to give up a lot of old friends.
And that's not easy, right?
Well, subhanAllah, I feel like I was blessed somehow, some way. The brother who gave me my shahada was also a very close friend before we were Muslims. So we knew each other before Islam. And then after Islam, he was the closest, until now, he's of the closest people to me. And so basically, I relied a lot on him and those in his circle. So those were my close companionships. And, fortunately for me, I've always been blessed with, mashallah, good companionship. And particularly in those times, they were the first to give me advice about maybe you shouldn't hang around these people here because, they're doing this, that, and the other, or they will mislead you. And I was blessed. I was really blessed because the people that were around me, my close ashab, my was close companions, were fantastic, wonderful people. Fantastic, and they really cared about me, and you could see that even till now, we're close. And they were the ones who would warn me against, leaving my old friends and explaining to me, not just telling me, leave those guys alone, but they would explain to me why leaving them alone would be better for my religion. So I was blessed in that aspect, but I've seen other situations where people, they didn't have that companionship, they didn't have that friendship, and they made friends with people who unfortunately led them down the wrong path. Led them down the wrong path.
Well, we've very nice. We could probably talk all night, and mashallah, so many phone calls. Please, inshallah, keep calling us every week. We love to have your phone calls.
Check us out on Facebook.
Check us out on Facebook. You'll find us on Facebook.
If you're not able to get through tonight, please leave what you want to say on Facebook.
Yeah, that's true, because we're going to continue this in the next 2 or 3 episodes. So anyone who couldn't get through, go to facebook.com/A-Time-to-Please-Allah or Time to Please Allah. Leave your comments or inbox us on our page, your input, and we'll read it, inshallah, in the next episode. And we're way overdue, mashallah, on this episode.
Yes.
We could go on.
Episode.
I could do this all night,
Mashallah.
I could do this all night. So we've come to the end of the show, and as always, inshallah, please join us here, same time, same place, live from Dubai on Huda TV. And as always, we leave you with the greetings of Islam from myself, Ismail Bullock,
and Gabriel Al-Romaani.
Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says, all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn His reward. Don't forget the oppressed. And when you go to sleep at night,